ExamPrep.School. FLA General Lines Insurance Agent Exam. Exam code INSFL-PC06. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Casualty policy provisions, casualty terms and related concepts, property policy provisions and contract law, property terms and related concepts, statutes and regulations common to all lines, statutes and regulations common to property insurance, general lines, statutes and regulations pertinent to health insurance, types of policies, bonds, and related terms, types of property policies. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under an unendorsed H02 broad form homeowner's policy, which of the following perils is insured as a named peril for the dwelling? A. Damage caused by volcanic eruption. B. Damage caused by flood. C. Damage caused by earthquake. D. Damage caused by power failure. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is A. This policy insures losses from volcanic eruption. Named peril coverage under H02 does not include flood, earthquake, or power failure. Reason B is not correct. Flood perils are excluded in an H02 named peril form except if endorsed separately. Reason C is not correct. Earthquake losses are not covered under the standard H02 named peril list. Reason D is not correct. Power failure is not listed as an insured peril in the H02 policy. Question 2. Which of the following types of water damage is excluded under the water damage exclusion in an unendorsed H02 broad form homeowners policy? A. Water damage from sudden accidental overflow of a plumbing appliance. B. Water damage due to continuous seepage over multiple weeks. C. Water damage from accidental discharge of a residential fire sprinkler. D. Water damage from a sudden rupture of a domestic water heater. The correct answer is B. The H02 form excludes damage resulting from continuous or repeated seepage or leakage over an extended period. Accidental and sudden overflows or ruptures are covered as named perils. Reason A is not correct. Accidental plumbing overflows are covered named perils under the H02 water damage provision. Reason C is not correct. Accidental discharge from a residential sprinkler is insured under the H02 named perils. Reason D is not correct. Loss from a sudden rupture of a water heater is covered under the H02 accidental discharge peril. Question 3. Under an unendorsed H02 broad form homeowners policy, on what basis are losses to the dwelling settled, absent a replacement cost endorsement? A. Actual cash value, reflecting depreciation. B. Replacement cost without deduction for depreciation. C. Agreed value stipulated in the policy declarations. D. Functional replacement cost adjusted for building materials. The correct answer is A. Without a replacement cost endorsement, the H02 form settles dwelling losses on an actual cash value basis, which accounts for depreciation at the time of loss. Reason B is not correct. Replacement cost without depreciation is only provided if a specific endorsement is added to the policy. Reason C is not correct. An agreed value settlement is not a feature of the standard H02 form. Reason D is not correct. Functional replacement cost is not provided under the unendorsed H02 homeowners policy. Question 4. During an ice storm, a large tree limb snaps and crashes through the roof of a home insured under an H03 policy. Under coverage A, which of the following losses would be covered? A. Expense to replace the entire tree that fell. B. Crushing damage to shrubs and landscaping from the falling limb. C. Cost to remove the limb and debris from the property. D. Structural damage to the roof decking caused by the limb's impact. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is structural damage to the roof. Coverage A ensures the dwelling against open perils, including physical damage caused by a falling tree limb. Reason A is not correct. Tree replacement costs fall under additional coverages for tree removal and are subject to separate sublimits. Reason B is not correct. Landscaping damage is covered under additional coverages, not under the main coverage a dwelling limit. Reason C is not correct. Debris removal is a separate additional coverage with its own limit, not part of the main coverage A structure coverage. Question 5. A baseball thrown by a neighbor's child shatters a window pane on your home insured under an HO3 policy. Which statement correctly illustrates the distinction between the special perils of coverage A and the broad perils of coverage B? A. Both coverage A and coverage B cover accidental glass breakage under the broad peril definitions. B. Coverage A excludes all glass breakage losses, but coverage B specifically names glass breakage as a covered peril. C. Coverage A provides open peril protection for the accidental breakage of the window, while coverage B does not cover glass breakage that is not caused by a named peril. D. Coverage A is limited to structural collapse events, whereas coverage B covers sudden accidental breakage. The correct answer is C. The correct answer explains that coverage A is an open peril insurance form, covering all causes of loss unless excluded, including glass breakage, while coverage B insures personal property only against named broad perils and does not include glass breakage. Reason A is not correct. Coverage B does not cover all accidental breakage events, only those caused by named perils. Reason B is not correct. Glass breakage is not specifically named under coverage B's broad perils list. Reason D is not correct. Coverage A covers more than structural collapse, as it is based on open perils rather than collapse only. Question 6. After discovering mold growth in a bathroom wall, you file a claim under your HO3 policy for remediation costs, totaling $12,000. According to HO3 mold sublimit requirements, how much will the insurer pay for this mold loss? A. $12,000. B. $1,000. C. $2,500. D. $10,000. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is $10,000 because HO3 policies typically include a mold remediation sublimit of $10,000 per loss, regardless of the total remediation cost. Reason A is not correct. Remediation costs above the mold sublimit are not covered, so full cost is not paid. Reason B is not correct. A $1,000 limit applies to sink or drain backups, not mold remediation. Reason C is not correct. A $2,500 limit does not apply to standard HO3 mold sublimits. Question 7. A washing machine hose suddenly bursts in your laundry room, soaking several articles of clothing and boxes on the floor under your HO3 policy. Which of the following correctly states how this personal property loss is covered? A. It is excluded because appliance leaks are specifically barred under the water damage exclusion. B. It is covered under coverage B as a named peril for accidental discharge of water from a plumbing system. C. It is covered under coverage A as an open peril loss to the dwelling. D. It is not covered because mold damage must be present to trigger coverage. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is coverage under coverage B. Personal property losses caused by accidental discharge or overflow of water from plumbing are named perils under coverage B of an HO3 policy. Reason A is not correct. Appliance leaks are insured as a named peril for accidental discharge of water, not excluded. Reason C is not correct. Coverage A insures the structure, not personal property under Coverage B. Reason D is not correct. Mold is unrelated. The named peril is water discharge, which covers soaked contents. Question 8. As a renter under an HO4 policy, you spent $5,000 installing custom kitchen cabinets. A fire damages the cabinets beyond repair. If your personal property limit is $20,000, how much will the insurer pay for the loss to your tenant improvements and betterments? A. $0. B. $5,000. C. $2,000. D. $20,000. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is $2,000 because HO4 policies typically provide a tenant improvements and betterments limit equal to 10% of the Coverage C personal property limit, 10% of $20,000. Reason A is not correct. Tenant improvements are covered up to the specified sublimit and not excluded entirely. Reason B is not correct. Tenant improvements are limited to 10% of Coverage C, not the full cost. Reason D is not correct. The full personal property limit does not apply to improvements and betterments. Question 9. Which of the following lists the component parts of a commercial package policy, CPP? A. Declarations, insuring agreements, conditions, definitions, endorsements, interline endorsements. B. Declaration page, insuring agreements, policy definitions, exclusions, premium provisions. C. Declarations of each coverage part, conditions of each coverage part, endorsements, interline endorsements. D. Common policy declarations, common policy conditions, coverage parts, interline endorsements. The correct answer is D. The commercial package policy is composed of 4 main sections: common policy declarations, common policy conditions, coverage parts, and interline endorsements. Reason A is not correct. Includes insuring agreements and definitions which belong within coverage parts rather than as separate CPP components. Reason B is not correct. Mixes exclusions and premium provisions that are part of coverage parts, not distinct CPP components. Reason C is not correct. Refers to declarations and conditions of individual coverage parts instead of the common policy sections. Question 10. Which common policy condition in a commercial package policy grants the insurer the right to examine the insured's books and records during the policy period? A. Assignment. B. Cancellation. C. Examination of books and records. D. Liberalization. The correct answer is C. The examination of books and records condition authorizes the insurer to inspect and audit the insured's records during the policy period. Reason A is not correct. Assignment condition addresses the transfer of rights and duties, not record examination. Reason B is not correct. Cancellation condition covers termination procedures rather than inspection rights. Reason D is not correct. Liberalization condition broadens coverage without additional premium and does not involve record examination. Question 11. Which 3 cause of loss coverage forms are available under the Building and Personal Property BPP form? A. Basic, broad, and special. B. Named peril, broad peril, and open peril. C. Basic, named peril, and broad peril. D. Broad, special, and open peril. The correct answer is A. The BPP form offers 3 tiers of cause of loss coverage: the basic form, the broad form, and the special form. Reason B is not correct. Open peril is not the terminology used. The correct tier is called special form. Reason C is not correct. Named peril and broad peril are not how the BPP forms are titled. The 3 tiers are basic, broad, special. Reason D is not correct. Open peril is incorrect terminology, and broad with special alone omits the basic form. Question 12. A manufacturing company has a business personal property form under a business owner's policy with a $400,000 building coverage limit and a debris removal additional coverage set at 25% of that limit. After a covered loss, debris removal expenses total $110,000. What is the maximum amount the insurer will pay for debris removal? A. $110,000. B. $100,000. C. $25,000. D. $0. The correct answer is B. The debris removal additional coverage pays up to 25% of the building coverage limit, which is $100,000. Since the expense exceeds that portion but the direct damage limit still applies, the insurer pays a maximum of $100,000. Reason A is not correct. Assumes the insurer would cover the full expense without applying the 25% sublimit. Reason C is not correct. Mistakes the standard $25,000 separate debris removal limit for this percentage-based coverage. Reason D is not correct. Incorrectly implies no coverage for debris removal after a covered loss. Question 13. A business owner seeks a BOP for an auto repair shop operating in a 7,000 square foot facility with annual payroll of $250,000 and gross sales of $800,000. Under standard BOP eligibility tests, what is true about this applicant? A. Eligible for a BOP without restrictions. B. Ineligible because auto repair operations are excluded. C. Ineligible because the facility size exceeds the square footage limit. D. Ineligible because annual payroll exceeds policy thresholds. The correct answer is B. BOP eligibility excludes certain classes of businesses, including auto repair operations. Even though size and payroll tests are met, exclusion of these operations renders it ineligible for the BOP. Reason A is not correct. Overlooks the class exclusion for auto repair by assuming only size and payroll tests apply. Reason C is not correct. Misattributes ineligibility to facility size when the size requirement is actually met. Reason D is not correct. Erroneously focuses on payroll thresholds, which are satisfied in this case. Question 14. A small contracting firm with a BOP relies on rented equipment and occasionally uses employee-owned vehicles for business. Which endorsement should be added to cover liability arising from vehicles the insured hires or that are owned by employees? A. Business auto expansion of territory endorsement. B. BOP optional hired non-owned auto endorsement. C. Employee benefits liability endorsement. D. Equipment breakdown endorsement. The correct answer is B. The hired, non-owned auto endorsement extends liability coverage to vehicles the insured hires and to employee-owned vehicles used in the business, which is not included under the standard BOP. Reason A is not correct. This endorsement modifies geography, not coverage for hired or non-owned vehicles. Reason C is not correct. This endorsement addresses employee benefit liability, not auto liability for hired or non-owned vehicles. Reason D is not correct. This endorsement covers equipment breakdown, not auto liability exposures. Question 15. A retail store experiences a significant inventory increase during the holiday season. Which optional provision should be added to its BOP to automatically increase coverage limits during peak months? A. Seasonal increase provision. B. Spoilage additional coverage. C. Agreed value endorsement. D. Inflation guard endorsement. The correct answer is A. The seasonal increase provision automatically boosts the coverage limit for inventory or other property during designated peak periods, matching seasonal exposure increases. Reason B is not correct. Spoilage coverage applies to perishable goods loss, not limit increases for inventory. Reason C is not correct. Agreed value fixes a value for coinsurance waiver, not seasonal limit adjustments. Reason D is not correct. Inflation guard gradually adjusts limits over time, not for specific seasonal peaks. Question 16. A contractor obtains a builder's risk policy on a completed value form for a new office building. Under this form, how does the policy limit relate to the value of the insured property during construction? A. Limit remains at the initial estimated completion value until occupancy. B. Coverage limit decreases automatically as construction progresses and value is added. C. Provides replacement cost coverage from the date the policy is bound. D. Coverage suspends when the structure reaches substantial completion. The correct answer is B. The completed value form sets the policy limit at the projected final value and automatically reduces the limit in proportion to work completed, reflecting increasing property value. Reason A is not correct. Describes a builder's risk reporting form behavior, not the completed value form. Reason C is not correct. Confuses replacement cost with the completed value mechanism used during construction. Reason D is not correct. Incorrectly states coverage suspension rather than automatic limit adjustment. Question 17. Which of the following percentages is not a standard windstorm or hail deductible option typically offered on Florida residential property insurance policies? A. 1% of the dwelling coverage limit. B. 2% of the dwelling coverage limit. C. 5% of the dwelling coverage limit. D. 7% of the dwelling coverage limit. The correct answer is D. Florida property policies commonly offer windstorm or hail deductibles expressed as a percentage of the dwelling limit in increments such as 1%, 2%, 3%, and 5%. 7% is not a standard option. Reason A is not correct. This percentage is widely offered by insurers and thus does not represent the non-standard option. Reason B is not correct. This percentage is a common insurer choice and therefore is not the non-standard option. Reason C is not correct. This percentage is regularly available and so it cannot be the non-standard option. Question 18. Under Florida law, which of the following best defines a named storm for property insurance purposes? A. A subtropical depression assigned a name by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrations. B. A tropical storm or hurricane for which the National Hurricane Center has issued an official name. C. Any storm system that triggers a state-issued tropical storm warning. D. A cyclone with a sustained wind speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour. The correct answer is B. Florida statutes define a named storm as one for which the National Hurricane Center has officially assigned a name after it reaches tropical storm strength or higher. Reason A is not correct. Depressions are not named by the National Hurricane Center once they reach tropical storm strength. Reason C is not correct. State-issued warnings do not determine the naming. Only the National Hurricane Center does. Reason D is not correct. The wind speed threshold alone does not confer an official name. Naming is done by the National Hurricane Center. Question 19. A homeowner insured under a Citizens Wind-Only DP3 policy sustains damage during a hurricane. Roof shingles are torn off by high winds and subsequently driving rain damages interior ceilings. Based on the policy's wind-only form, which loss is covered? A. Replacement of missing roof shingles due to wind. B. Interior ceiling water stains caused by driving rain. C. Drywall collapse from moisture intrusion. D. Mold remediation in attic spaces. The correct answer is A. The wind-only Citizens D. P3 policy covers direct wind damage but explicitly excludes water damage from rain. Thus, loss of shingles from wind qualifies while ensuing water-related damage is not covered. Reason B is not correct. Interior water stains are excluded because the wind-only form does not cover rainwater damage. Reason C is not correct. Drywall collapse from moisture intrusion is excluded under the wind-only provision, which omits water-related losses. Reason D is not correct. Mold remediation is excluded because mold resulting from driving rain is not covered by the wind-only policy. Question 20. An insured's foundation cracks and shifts after an earth slump adjacent to the dwelling causes structural settlement. Under a homeowner's policy with a catastrophic ground collapse endorsement, which loss would be covered? A. Cosmetic wall cracking from soil expansion. B. Earth fissures forming without structural damage. C. Cracking driveway from abnormal soil shrink-swell cycles. D. Structural settlement from a land slump collapse. The correct answer is D. The catastrophic ground collapse endorsement triggers only when a collapse of supporting ground causes structural damage. Thus, loss from a land slump causing settlement is covered. Reason A is not correct. Cosmetic cracking from soil expansion lacks an actual collapse trigger and is excluded. Reason B is not correct. Fissures without structural damage do not meet the collapse requirement for coverage. Reason C is not correct. Shrink-swell driveway cracks result from normal soil movement, not collapse, and are not covered. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.